We've got breaking news coming in right on the top of Newsroom tonight. Shameful scenes at the Cuttack Cricket Stadium where India is inching towards a disastrous defeat at the hands of the South Africans. Bottles have been thrown onto the cricket field. My colleague Shivani Gupta is joining us for more. Shivani, disgraceful, distasteful scenes these.
Absolutely. This is not something that we've seen in a long time in India or anywhere in the world, Rahul. I mean, it reminds us of those ugly scenes at Kolkata at the Eden Gardens. That was way back in 1996 during a World Cup semi-final when India was on the verge of defeat and the match had to be called off. Right now, it's been about 10 minutes since this disruption has happened and the match hasn't started yet. And the commentators were even talking about how Duckworth Lewis could come into focus if the match doesn't restart. And then if we go by Duckworth Lewis, the current permutations are that South Africa are ahead. Of course, India anyways are on the verge of losing this T20 match at Cuttack and with that losing the T20 series, and that has angered fans so much. Even though India was making a match of this, despite posting only 92 runs on the board, they were making a match of it. 4 South African wickets were down. Ashwin was bowling well. But yes, they were staring at defeat. Regardless, a behavior like this absolutely not acceptable in any circumstances. This is a sport. Wins and losses happen, but we didn't expect that the crowd...
No, but tell me what led to this. I want to go across to Manogya Loiwal. She's reporting on this match from Cuttack. Manogya, what led to this? You know, the fact that there's victory and defeat in all matches. We lost the last one too. What is it that led to the crowd and the spectators getting so angry?
Well, I think it's because of the sentiment and the emotional attachment that they were expecting the Team India would win this time, and T20 has always been one of the most hyped matches. Remember, it's been long that Cuttack hasn't seen any match. And with Indian team playing there, it was a high expectation match, a high voltage match also, where they were expecting to win, which does not seem to happen as far as the performance of the team goes. And I would put it this way, that because of the long-lasting match and of course the fact that there should have been a little more security cordon as far as the carrying of these such kind of bottles and allowed inside, what eatables were allowed inside, what other aspects are being allowed inside needs to be a matter of concern. Also, remember, in Eden Garden, we've seen this happen in last match, where we saw a lot of ruckus, after which there was almost a blockade, a stop on the number of matches to be held in Eden Garden, and crowd control also. This somehow did not happen in Cuttack, and that might have been one of the reasons for things going
So
haywire.
what's the latest that you know since you're in Cuttack? Will this match carry on? Will it be called off? What are the umpires planning now? What's the situation on the ground as we speak?
Rahul, the security of the players is equally important, and that is paramount as far as this match is concerned. They're also considering on whether the match can continue, or as Shivani was pointing out, the method of Douglas method to be taken into place, to consider on whether the match would be called off on that front.
Okay, I want to go across to Nikhil Chopra. He's joining us. We're getting some reports that the match is indeed starting. Nikhil, very shameful scenes these from Cuttack. This happened previously during the semi-finals when Vinod Kamli famously broke down. Now it's happening in Cuttack. What do you make of this? This seems to be a very strong South African side up against a very weak Indian side.
Absolutely. I guess because we got bowled out at such a low score, Rahul. But, throwing bottles is not the answer. All the fans have got to realize if they continue this kind of behavior, the ICC as well as the BCCI will think twice in avoiding any more international games there, because obviously you do not want Indian cricket to be brought any sort of disrepute.
Okay, Shivani, take our viewers through what happened during the first innings, because from what I gathered, the South Africans bowled really well. They fielded exceptionally well, which is kind of what you expect from the South Africans in any case.
Absolutely. It wasn't a good batting performance from the Indians. It didn't look like they were, up against the South African bowlers. There were a couple of run-outs as well. Some of India's key batsmen were run out. There was, just disarray. They started cautiously, but once Rohit Sharma and Shikhar Dhawan went, it was just absolute pandemonium. Dhoni couldn't contribute. Raina tried his best. And then, you can't expect really the tail to get you through in a power-hitting game game against good South African bowling lineup. I must add here what Manogia was stressing on. You know, there was a match that was supposed to be scheduled in Cuttack in 2014. You know, that got called off in 2013. Rain washed out a match. So it was a long time since Cuttack had seen an international match, and it seems expectations have just boiled over there, and a bad or a poor Indian performance has not got down well. Of course, nothing justifies this action by the crowd, but yes, it was a poor performance overall.
Nikhil, it turned out to be a very long couple of months for the Indian team, given how things have gone. This is possibly our strong suit, T20, after which you have the one days, then the test. This could turn out to be a very, very embarrassing winter for India.
Well, you're absolutely right. These are good batting conditions, make no mistake about it, and our strength lies in our batting. In the first game, we got close to 200, and the second game, we were all worried about the bowling, that the batting will take care of itself, but it just goes to show that the opposition has done their homework, and their plans, the execution has been absolutely spot on. And T20 is all about power, but it's also about speed, and saving runs, run out is the key. So, there's a lot that India will have to literally play out of their skins to bounce back in the series. Otherwise, like you just said, it's going to be a long and painful winter.
Okay, Boria Majumdar is also joining us. Boria, will the BCCI act on this shameful incident, given what the crowds in Cuttack have done? Will this impact Cuttack's ability to get matches from here on?
They should, because these days, international bodies are extremely strict about crowd regulation. You cannot do this. I was thinking about the 1996 World Cup semi-final in Calcutta, when Calcutta was shamed. We were about to lose our test status here at the Eden Gardens. Clive Lloyd was then the match referee, was about to take it away. Here, the match
just
referee
stay with me, Boria. We're getting breaking news that the match has been called off yet again. Momentarily, the players were called back on. Game started. Now we're being told that the match has been called off yet again. The match has been disrupted yet again. Players are off the field once more. Go ahead, Boria.
This is absolutely shameful, because you are in front of the world. You are staging international cricket. There is defeat, there is victory, but to shame your country like this, I think the BCCI should pull Cuttack and Odisha Cricket Association up very, very strictly. The match referee will give an adverse report. Even the ICC should take stock of this, because this kind of thing cannot be tolerated. If there is an injury, India might even have to pay enormous amounts of fines to the ICC, and bilateral relations with South Africa, which is at its best now, might once again go for a toss. This kind of behavior...
Okay, stay with me, Boria. I want to go across to former international captain Mohammad Azharuddin. We just met in the studio a few moments before now, Azhar, and we said that the match wasn't going well, but this kind of a response from the Indian fans in Cuttack, what are you making of this, sir?
I think they should be, the ground should be banned actually. This kind of behavior is unpardonable, because every time we are on the losing side, always these things happen, and it happened during the World Cup time also in 1996, I think. But these type of venues, if they keep doing like that, they should be banned from hosting any matches, because it is not good for the players, it's not good for everybody. People, after all, it's a game, somebody has to win and somebody has to lose. But I think this type of behavior from the crowd is unpardonable.
Just stay with me. Shivani's got some breaking news. The match has been suspended. What does that mean?
It means that it is in limbo. But they will see if they can start again soon. Of course, there is time. It's, not even close to 11 right now. So there is time for the match to restart. But after coming onto the pitch, after the initial disruption, there were 2 overs that were bowled. South Africa was inching closer. But then most disruptions happened. So a second disruption has happened. And because of that, players have now just moved out of the field. So it's suspended as of now.
Okay, Azharuddin, you've seen how volatile and passionate Indian fans are. But what do you think led to what we've seen today? This isn't like a Pakistan that you're taking on. This is a South Africa. They're a very good team. We are used to losing to them, beating them on occasions. But what do you think led to what happened?
I think probably India's batting, because I think we didn't bat well. I think we gave a wicket just like that. I think there was no intent from our side, when we were batting, the 2 couple of run out. I think we're looking, after losing the first game, that enthusiasm had to be more, but I didn't see that. So maybe that is the reason I think the crowd got irritated, because they've come in large numbers, it's jam-packed, a full house. And I think, but their behavior like that is not very nice, because you cannot do like that, you cannot throw things on the ground. I've seen some, glass bottles that's been on the ground. I don't know how they allowed them to get those glass bottles inside. It's very dangerous. Sometimes if you get hit by that bottle, dangerous. It can be very fatal at times. So I think it's very, very wrong, and I think our board and ICC should look into this matter. I think first of all they should maybe, I don't know, fine, like everybody, all the boards are very rich, so they don't mind getting away with the fine, but I think a ban will really hit them hard.
Okay, and also what would the South African team likely make of this? Because while they're very friendly with the Indian board, they come and play the IPL, they understand the conditions, but something like this would be very scary and would scar them deeply as well, sir.
I'm sure they would be very, very disappointed with that, but I think, it has happened, one of things, I think now, and they will be, in the future matches, there won't be any such problems, I suppose, because the match referee is also there, I'm sure he will take the situation into consideration and see what happens, because I think this kind of behavior, as I keep repeating, it's unpardonable. It is not nice, because we are we are playing in India, and then we want matches to be played in India. We want big teams to come and play in India, but I think this type of behavior, I think players will find themselves not very comfortable.
Will this also, at some level, if this continues in this fashion, sir, do you think this will also create questions over Mahendra Singh Dhoni's captaincy? Because Virat Kohli led India to victory in Sri Lanka. Now under Dhoni's captaincy, if what's happened in the first two matches continues through the series, could this prove to be Dhoni's last series as captain?
I'm not too sure about that, Rahul, but I think, because overall the performance of the team is not good. It's very hard for me to, blame him for this kind of behavior. It is a crowd behavior. But I think it's very hard to say about Dhoni, but I think he's done so well over a period of time. So maybe he has to perform now, I think, because his job would, I'm sure that it will be looked into it. It will be, I think, on the line. So he has to really perform well, because today's game was very atrocious. Our batting was horrible.
What's the BCCI making of this? Yes, Shivani.
There's not yet a reaction. Of course, the match referees would be taking cognizance of the situation. But if I can just add, it's quite ironic, Rahul, that this is happening in a series which has been titled the Gandhi-Mandela series. Two peace icons. They are the ones after which the series is christened for the first time. And for perpetuity, an India-South Africa series will be called a Gandhi-Mandela series. The toss coin actually has Gandhi-Mandela busts on one side, and that's the heads side. So it's quite shameful that something like this has happened. It's really not a very good thing for this to rear its ugly head again, such kind of crowd troubles, and it's even more disrespectful that this has actually happened for a second time after play resumed for 2 overs. That means the crowd is not relenting. So that means they're deliberately going on and creating such trouble in this match.
Imagine that. Important point there by Shivani. The Nelson Mandela Mahatma Gandhi series. This is the last thing those two peace icons would want. I want to go across. So thank you very much, Azruddin, for joining us. Chetan Chauhan is joining us. He's been a board administrator, top opening batsman. Mr. Chauhan, what do you make of what we are seeing in Cuttack at this time? Chetan sir, do you hear me? Is this match likely to be called off now, Shivani?
The fact that this has been disrupted and now halted, so much to say that the players have walked off the ground, it could very well be called off, because the priority for the match referee in such a situation is not to put players at risk. They do not want an incident where the players come back on the field and more bottles are thrown. Mohammad Azharuddin was mentioning something about even glass bottles. They do not want a situation where it hurts a boundary fielder, and there will be players on the boundary because India is defending a very, very low score. So very high possibility that in the face of relentless disruption by the crowds, that the ICC match referee even decides to call off this match, which will be shameful. South Africa are ahead on Duckworth Lewis, but even if they weren't in such a situation, the hosts get the penalty.
Chetan Chauhan, can you hear me, sir? Chetan sir, do you hear me?
Yes.
What do you make of what's happening in Cuttack, and what action should be taken against the cricket fans of Cuttack for having shamed Indian cricket in this fashion?
Well, see, it's a very sad day. Maybe the spectators are upset with the performance of the Indian team. But nevertheless, these things happen in cricket, and goodness must prevail upon the spectators. And they should be made to calm down. Because it's the duty of the match referee to protect the players and the match officials. Considering the
Okay, I want to go across to Vikrant Gupta. He's been speaking to a whole bunch of BCCI officials. What's the BCCI making of what's happened on the cricket field in Cuttack, Vikrant? Vikrant? Go on, Vikrant. Okay, blame the call drops. Don't blame our production crew. We're having a bit of a tough time with these phones. Give me a moment. We're trying to patch this through. We're expecting Saurav Ganguly in a while also from now. In case you've just tuned in, the story is that unruly crowds have disrupted the India-South Africa match at Cuttack. South Africa was chasing a very small Indian total. They were coasting to victory even though they'd lost 3 wickets. That score was 64. But just at that time, bottles were pelted onto the ground. There were bottles that were thrown, glass bottles, plastic bottles. The South African players walked off. There was an attempt made to try and resume this match, but that didn't go too far either, because soon after that, the pelting started once more. Kishore Bhamdani is now joining us, cricket commentator. What do you make, Kishore, of what we've seen in Cuttack, and what action should the BCCI take?
Well, the most important thing that looks like is the way in which the match has been organized. The police placement has to be much better than this. The police are turning around, we can see the police personnel on television, they're watching the match rather than, they should all be looking at the crowd, not at the match. They should be looking at the crowd and trying to catch troublemakers. They should, like in Eden Garden, every now and again, when there is a first sign of trouble, the first thing the policemen do is to go and stand in the crowd. If they go and stand in the crowd, there will be some fear. They are all on this side of the fencing, the protective fencing, and they're watching the match. Now, obviously, you've got to take half a dozen spectators out who chuck something, take them out, and immediately the others will stop. Because the big netting that we see is on other sides of the stadium, but one side where there is a second deck, the upper deck, the missiles that come in from there cannot be stopped. And it's a disgrace it's a complete disgrace to India that these television pictures will be seen all around the world.
Oh, absolutely. It indeed is a disgrace that images like these have been allowed to unfold and that the cops weren't able to prevent this. And the second time too, the same thing happened. I'm going to leave it over there.